Welcome back. President Trump's tariffs, you've heard a little bit about them, right? Well, they could have an impact on electric vehicles production and sales. And the Zero Emission Transportation Association, well, it's been critical of the president's so-called trade war, arguing it creates economic uncertainty in the EV industry. I want to bring in its director, Albert Gore. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
So last year, EV sales in the United States, 1.3 million, up 8.1%. This first quarter of 2025, 300,000 EV sales. It's not blowing the doors off the market, but it is rising. What does this whole tariff conversation do to that market and do to the components necessary to keep it going?
Well, you know, tariffs have had an impact on the whole automotive market.
Sure.
No question about it. I think the EV industry has been a little less exposed, primarily because of the wave of investments that have taken place across the country over the last decade, but in particular over the last several years in response to some of the clear market signals in the Inflation Reduction Act.
Right. Now, the president has tried, meaning President Trump, has tried to reverse what he called an electric vehicle mandate. It wasn't. It was an emissions set of standards. How has that influenced this whole conversation and the market?
I think overall, there is an understanding that the EV industry, and that extends to the battery industry, the critical mineral production and refining, is a really fast-growing industry across the United States. Look at the battery belt states like Michigan, Kentucky, Ohio, Georgia, Tennessee. There are factories growing, producing vehicles, producing batteries. So it's a sector that is providing a lot of economic vitality across the country. And I think there's a strong recognition, particularly in Congress, that that ought to continue to be supported.
But without the electric vehicle emission standards, or the emission standards that tend to benefit those in the renewable sphere of the energy economy, does that take away some of the incentives for people to move toward EVs and for the production lines to continue to expand?
You know, I think the past decade or so has been proof that there is really strong consumer demand for electric vehicles.
Regardless of the regulatory environment.
Independent of whether folks care about emissions or not, they're just good vehicles. And so I think that's why we've seen sustained growth. We've had over 1 million sales a year for several years in a row now. 14% of new vehicle sales in 2024 were plug-in electric vehicles. And, you know, there's a lot of room to grow. And that's a great thing for the people in communities like Savannah, Georgia, like Reno, Nevada, that have huge factories growing and producing quality jobs.
How does China fit into this entire equation?
Well, you know, China is a huge supplier across the entire American economy. And that's changing. But there are a few places where it's changed as quickly as in the EV and battery industry over the last several years. And a lot of that is because of the way the tax credits in the IRA are structured. So in the demand side credit, you have to get all the Chinese content out of the battery in a very short period of time. And that has created a huge wave of private sector investment from automakers into U.S. Mineral producers and refiners, battery component manufacturers. So to use Reno as an example, you have Panasonic making 6 million cells a day in their facility there. That has created huge demand for minerals and a huge supply of cells to EV manufacturers downstream. So, you know, the EV supply chain has made dramatic progress in moving the supply chain outside of China into the United States as much as possible. But there are still trade relationships with Japan, South Korea, and within the USMCA.
So part of your career intersected with Tesla. You worked there for 7 years, if I read your resume correctly. Tesla sales are declining domestically and globally. They're still the dominant player in EVs in America. What's your evaluation of where Tesla finds itself in this marketplace?
Well, I think Tesla has, you know, essentially created an enormous market for electric vehicles in the United States. It still has the most American-made car in the market. And I think what that does for a country is crowd in other investment. You've got LG with 7 factories across the country, Samsung, SK. I mean, huge factories, huge investments because there's a competitive market for EVs, largely because of Tesla's impact over the last decade. So I think that, you know, it'll continue to grow, and mostly the market will continue to grow. The more people that have EVs can tell their friends, neighbors, family members what it's like, and that's how the market grows organically.
And what's the future of charging and length of travel?
I think that we continue to see a lot of progress in energy density. So, EVs at 400 and 500 miles of range. Most people, when they own an EV, they don't think about charging very much. They charge where they park. When they travel, they're utilizing the fast charging network. We have a lot of work to do to build a national EV charging network. But in general, good stuff on the horizon for range, for charging access, and that market grows as EV deployment grows.
Because most of them come with a charging station at home, oftentimes subsidized by the seller.
That's exactly right. And
Not that I'm doing a commercial or anything for you, kids.
And a great thing for 7 million people working in the electricity supply industry across the country.
Albert Gore, great to have you in. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.